Series, and it'll be the first of many. We'll continue this series until we build some very special guests. I have lots of friends from Hollywood. We'll reach out to Bollywood, a lot of great storytellers in the world, some that work with the United Nations, some that work with Netflix, and many of them that want to work with you. Because getting you into purpose and the power of storytelling will not only help you accelerate your career, it's going to create impact. And this year, we've unleashed a great new theme at the Enactus World Cup this year called Passion on Purpose. And it couldn't be better for storytelling, I have to say, because in between passion and purpose lies performance. And everything in there from passion to get you to purpose is all about your performance. So we're going to just crank it up and optimize your performance and give you some of the tips and tricks to do so. So cool. Let's get you started here and welcome everybody. Welcome everybody from wherever you are in the chat. Get me moving on. All right. So from starters, a lot of you guys put where you are in the chat. But the fact of the matter is we're all here. Some way, somehow, the universe gathered us together at this moment in time. What are the odds of all of us gathering in one place in space at the same time? And if you're paying attention, it's got to mean something. It's got to mean something greater than us, that we're gathered here for a purpose, for a reason. What are the odds that we would all meet somewhere in an airport lobby or somewhere on the ground? But being able to be connected all around the world, a lot of times people say like, okay, I'm in Germany, I'm in India, I'm in here, I'm in there. But the fact of the matter is we're all on this round ball flying through space at 107,000 kilometers per hour, flying around the sun. Not only that, we're spinning. Not only that, the entire universe is moving. We are in full motion at all times, even when we're as still as possible and we're meditating, we're concentrating on breathing. We are in motion. Our body is in motion. Our atmosphere is in motion. So as long as we're in motion, I say, why not enjoy the adventure? And there's lots of different ways to look at our world and this earth. But what I like to do is consider us looking at our own self from space. If we're all standing on the moon this morning, looking back on Earth, and we're like, everybody on that planet spinning, flying through space, you think they'd be doing everything possible just to hang on. And that's the truth of this planet that we live on, this spaceship Earth that we live on, is we're in different neighborhoods, but we are deeply connected. We have this opportunity while we're here live from Earth to make a great difference. And so for those Enactus students who choose to take on purpose, you're here on a greater purpose, and it's a big purpose. So I want to talk about that. I want to get some of your stories out today. We've got a lot to pack in the next 55 minutes or so. So what I wanted to do is just start off a little bit, and I just want you to start with self. We're going to go into your heart. We're just going to focus on breathing, and I'm going to ask you to just start by actually closing your eyes. Just close your eyes and concentrate on really nice, easy breathing. Big breath in. Just going to hold it, hold it, hold it. Big breath out. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Big breath in. And while your eyes are closed, I just want you to think about what is it in your life at present that you value most in your life? What is it that you value most in your life? It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be an object. What is it that you value most in your life? And keep your eyes closed until the theater of your mind perfectly creates a picture of what that is that you value most in your life at present. Don't worry, it could be different tomorrow, it could be different next week, but what is it that you value most in your life as you think about it? Your past, today, your present, possibly into your future. What is it that you value most? Keep your eyes closed. And when you find it in the theater of your mind, if you'd be willing to share that in the chat of what it is that you value most in your life, if you'd be willing to share that in your chat, that would be really awesome. So keep your eyes closed until you've perfectly find that picture of what is it that you value most in your life. And when you get it, when it comes to your mind and it's deep in your heart, go ahead and open your eyes and then go ahead and share it in the chat. What is it that you value most in your life? Could be a person, could be people, could be a place, could be a thing. And then Emily, when you get a moment, if you'd be willing to share some of those, that'd be amazing.
Definitely. We've got some great responses. We have connection, freedom, relationships, community, friendship, education, family, experiences, knowledge, creativity, love, health, family again, the gift of life.
That's fantastic. So as I start to hear those answers, and you can share a couple more when they populate there. This is my colleague, Emily, who's somewhere in the middle of America in Springfield, Missouri. I just happen to be just outside of New York City. But the truth is, if you're not living in New York City, then we're all from just outside of New York City, or we're all from just outside of Delhi or just outside of Munich or wherever we are. So, but we're all inside this planet. So you got a couple more shares there, Em, and then we'll jump forward.
Definitely. So we have justice for everyone, experiences, home, let's see, mental health,
nice,
time, and lots of things to explore.
Okay, cool. Those sound like Enactus students. That is spectacular. So family, friends, connectivity, love. I haven't heard happiness yet, but there's deep connectivity between love and happiness, and ultimately connectivity of family and friends and all of that. So we're going to explore that, but keep that in your mind, because on our journeys forward, in our many opportunities that I have to create courses, we do mind mapping and we do our career mapping and our heart mapping. And what matters most is that object that we head towards. So when we think about that small dot over there, that moon shot, then if we think about the journey of we are here and we need to get to hold tight of what matters most. And we want to hold that into our heart. And it's going to be important as we move along here today. So let's keep going and keep that in your mind. I'm just going to give you a quick, super quick, no worries. Good to hear some beautiful voices and accents and all over the world. That makes me feel alive. There's no better place than when I'm at an airport or somewhere very, very different and I hear languages that are not my own. That's when I feel most at home. So that was perfect timing. Cool, cool, cool. I spent about 20 years of my life working with a lot of great brands and celebrities and awesome concerts and tours, from the Rolling Stones to Elton John to Alicia Keys. I've had a chance to work with some really cool people lately, and it's all because the connectivity on storytelling and telling better stories and telling important stories. And so my opportunity evolved working with different media and opportunities when I started working with celebrities, and then talk to them about their cause, talk to them about what we just did together, what matters most in their heart, and everything changes. The moment when you talk to anybody, you all level set, whether they're a so-called A-lister, a so-called influencer, or a so-called us. When we talk from the heart and we talk about what matters most, then we deeply connect and everything changes. So for me, after finishing a film with Kevin Bacon, everything changed when after 9/11, I had a chance to finish that film and then head off after flying around Manhattan, hanging from a helicopter and filming into another airplane. And this is an airplane that I volunteered myself. It was part of a couple of journalists and storytellers. We were about to land on the Somalia border, on the Kenya-Somalia border, in a place called El Wak. We were volunteer journalists on a journey to a refugee camp. It was time when there was a deep drought in Somalia. There was a lot of a war-torn area that we were in, so we needed to land and then sneak across the bush. But as we attempted to land our air cargo plane, our plane was too big for the runway. And every time we tried to touch down, some people gathered at the end of the runway, which was really dangerous, because if we overshot the runway, we were going to run into some beautiful people that continued to gather. But the thing was, beyond that fence were those beautiful faces. And then there was a hospital, and then there was a school. So if we overshot the runway, it was going to be disastrous. And when you got to see the faces behind the fence, you knew humanity was just ahead, but we had all of our supplies. So the pilot gave us two choices. He said, we can stick land this. That means we're going to stick right into the dirt. Airplane's probably going to spin, or we can touch and go and abort the plan. And so we all said, hey, we're here for a reason. We did land the plane. We pulled right up to the fence, thankfully. And then we got out. And at that point, I had a chance to cross into the border and meet some of the people that were fleeing Somalia, trying to get into Kenya. They were under gunfire. But what was incredible is the happiness in the face of the children. And you can see the worry in the young mothers, and the difference in every eye, every face told an amazing adventure, an amazing story. Our opportunity not only to tell our own stories, but an individual story of someone we meet somewhere, somehow, some way that matters most to the spinning round ball that we call Earth. So as I had this camera crew and I had my equipment, I found that my best opportunity, my best adventure was to hand over my camera crew to those around me that I was filming, hand it over to the young kids. And of course, oftentimes they would turn the camera on me and ask questions. But that began my opportunity in sharing storytelling, that the most powerful stories I could possibly share were not my own. It was when I could empower others to tell those stories. So I'm here with two translators. This is me with the crazy hair, it never ends. And if you ever want to have a crazy adventure, have two translators. But we were moving through the bush. We had to watch out for, we were under gunfire, we were under siege. And so there was a lot of challenges. But as we were walking through the bush, there was a man following us, and we could tell he was just behind us in the bush. So I reached out to one of my translators. I said, find out, what's the story with that guy? Because quite frankly, we're all a little worried. We're all, worried about the safety of our own lives and our health. And so he went off to find that man, and then later he came back hours later, and I asked him, "Hey, what was it about that guy that why is he following us?" And he came back to tell me that he just wanted his picture taken. And I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's different. Okay, I can take his picture. Have him come over here." So I took his picture, and then a little while later, he was gone. And so I asked the translator. I said, could you just tell me why he wanted his picture taken? And he said, I don't know. I said, please go find him. Find out why he wanted his picture taken. He came back hours later and he told me that he didn't want to be forgotten. He just wanted his picture taken so somebody somewhere in the world would have his photo because he didn't want to be forgotten. It's the story of a single man, and I never got his name. I never knew his name, but I never forgot him because what he represented was so much more. He represented the quiet corners on the planet that don't have the access and opportunity and privilege to connect like we do today. But what I learned about this man is that his background was that of a child soldier. So that week of spending time on the border turned into weeks, then turned into months, turned into multiple trips into Uttar Pradesh in India, into the Middle East and sub-Saharan Africa. But when I found out he was a child soldier, I wanted to get his backstory. So I spent time deep in the Congo in North and South Kivu to learn about child soldiers and to learn about their stories. And to do so, I applied something about passion on purpose. We just hung out in this camp, hidden camp together. We played music. We created art. We created kites. We shot hoops. We just hung out together. And in hanging out together, I got to spend time and understand deeper into their story. There's no better way, and you guys know, it's sometime at night, you're hanging out with your friends, and that's when the stories come out. When we're at ease, not because when we're under pressure, but we're chilling. And we get deeper into the story and we build a level of trust with each other. We never violate that trust. The moment you violate trust, your storytelling days are likely over. But the truth of the matter is the integrity, trust, establishing that and never violating it is key. There's a guy up on the left-hand side of your screen up on the top. His name is Pi Pi. Pi Pi is up there in a Lakers uniform. a really cool kid. And I'm interviewing him. He's 14, and at 14 in the Congo, you tend to age quick. And the reason he aged quick is because of his life. Pai Pai told me a story that represented the story of so many soldiers. Pai Pai, at 12 years old, was recruited as a child soldier. He was forced at gunpoint, him and his friend, to get into a car. When they refused to get into the car, the sergeant that was holding the gun shot his own assistant dead, fell dead in front of them. And now he said to the boys, get in the car. They, of course, got into the car and they were recruited. When I asked him if he had killed anybody, he said, yes, sir, I have. I said, can you tell me about it? He said, sir, I killed 19 people. My first when I was 12 years old. I said, how did you kill him? How did you know it was 19? He said, it was my job to know, sir. I killed him with my bayonet, my hands, my gun. And so my heart grew heavy listening to the stories of child soldiers. And when I asked him about the people that he killed, he said 7 of them were his own family members. They did that as child soldiers so that they would have no home to go back to. So as I heard the story of child soldiers, and while it felt like a far way from me, from New York to the Congo, again, this is on my watch on this place called planet Earth, with all of us connected together. This is not a faraway place. And I asked myself, is this a victim? Is he a criminal? Or is he just a child? And the fact of the matter is, he was all three. He was a victim and a child and forced to be some kind of criminal beyond his own time and his possibilities. When I asked him if he ever raped a woman, he said, yes, sir, I did when I was 12 years old at gunpoint. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. He said, so how did you feel? He said, I was exhausted, sir. That's what he said. That's what a 12-year-old boy said when he had to do something so against his intuition and whatever was going through a 12-year-old boy's brain. That's what he told me. And what happened that night and every night thereafter is having these stories deep in my heart made it very, very difficult for me as a storyteller to say, what now do I do with these stories? And this is going to relate to you. Because as I thought about who this boy was he a criminal? Was he a boy? Was he a victim? I asked more about how this could possibly be true. How could we fuel a war for child soldiers that would make it worthwhile in their life? And what I learned about this war is it was fueled by a mineral that was mined deep in the Congo called coltan, tantalite, many other names. And that mineral was found in many of our cell phones that we're currently holding in our hands, looking at. So who was responsible for the story? Every one of us, because of the dollars that we spend connected to a story. So as storytellers, as Enactus students, we have this amazing opportunity to tell the stories of truth, to tell the stories of brands that stand for something more, to tell the stories of when it's not right and when things go wrong and things go right. We have the opportunity to tell stories that say, when you spend money, did you know that company is not providing economic inclusion? Do you know that they don't have gender balance in their leadership and in their culture? Do you know that they haven't proportionately hired the amount of cultures and create diversity in their company? Do you know that they, through the purchase of each and every dollar, that they may be polluting the oceans? They may be contributing to plastics in the ocean. We have this opportunity right now, right here on Earth, and it is fantastic. And so when I learned that this boy named Pai Pai was a child soldier, it gave me insight into the man that I couldn't know his name, but I will never forget. These are the opportunities. These are the stories that we can tell. Now, is this a challenging story? It is. Is there joy at the end of the story? You better believe it, because our opportunity to put passion into play, whatever we're passionate about. I don't care if it's storytelling, if it's coding, if it's dance, if it's free-form poetry, if spoken word, you jam on some music with friends, bring it. Because that passion is your rocket fuel to help get you into performance and to help tell stories on purpose. So whatever you got that's in you, I only ask, bring on your passion. Don't park it. Don't put it away. Don't think that, oh, you've got to go on to help tell other stories. Just bring your passion. Bring your passion to work. Okay. So I I'm so excited about this theme this year. And I want to give you 7 quick points on storytelling. And I want you to have them and own them. And I want to make sure we'll follow up. And as we develop these series, I want to invite you to some of my friends that work in Hollywood, or we'll reach out to Bollywood and some friends from the United Nations, that we can continue to build stories. But here's the great opportunity, guys. We have something called the 77-Second Film Festival. It's a great opportunity at Enactus. We showcase these every year at the Enactus World Cup. So I want to reach out and appeal to you to tell your own story, to tell your story of someone, some place, something that matters most to you. This can be a personal story. It doesn't need to be about team impact. It doesn't need to be about what your team did. And that's all cool. But I really want to hear about you. People want to know your story and the story of the things that are connected to you that matter most. You have the freedom to tell that story in our 77-Second Film Festival. So when I think about where we are and where we're going to get to, we're traveling anyway. So look, these are tough stories. We work in a tough space and place. But I often say is, look, if we're not enjoying this life on Earth, if we're not having fun, then guys, what on earth are we doing here? People love to hear stories of joy. People love to hear a happy ending, even if there's challenge and tough pieces and parts to it. What's awesome is brightness of future, light at the end of the tunnel. And so when we tell stories of joy, I often say, we can live a life in the pursuit of happiness, or we can flip it, and we can live, instead of the pursuit of happiness, the happiness of pursuit. We can wake up grateful and be happy already. It's our choice. So I ask you to invite you to think about the world as something beautiful. So when we think about purpose, there's some pretty awesome purposes in the world. In 2014, the world's largest survey was conducted. It was conducted by the Gallup poll to find 17 sustainable development goals. In those 17 sustainable development goals, celebrities jumped on board, musicians jumped on board, companies got on board, and they got behind the 17 sustainable development goals. So when you're telling your story, if you find that they might be connected to one of these 17 sustainable development goals, go ahead and make the connection. Because when you do, you'll connect with some pretty powerful storytellers around the world. You'll connect with some pretty amazing global citizens around the world who are telling these stories, and some pretty powerful brands who have lined up behind the 17 sustainable development goals. And these goals look after you and look out for you, from good health to quality education to gender equality to reduced inequalities to responsible consumption to one race for oceans, all of the things that we do at Enactus. Your simple stories connect to bigger stories of life. And when you connect to those bigger stories of life, you connect to those that want to support your own story, your own career, your own path. If you ever wanted to work for Unilever or Amazon or Google, they're already connected to your story. All you have to do is connect to the greater context and talk about your personal story, what matters most, and look for opportunities to connect it to the 17 sustainable development goals. All right, guys. How to tell a story. We're going to get into 7 quick steps here, but I want to ask you what you see first. All right. So when I show you this object, I want you to just check out what you see first in this picture. Whatever you see first, put it in the chat. Whatever you see in this picture, and then in just a moment, you could share with us what people are seeing when you look at this picture. You might see a lot of things, but what's the first thing you see? What do you see first when you look at this?
All right, so we've got, I'd say the majority of the answers so far is monkey, understandably. However, some people do see tiger or lion. We've also got leaves, the tree.
All right.
Ooh, and we have someone saw a lizard as well.
Saw a lizard. Okay. Some creatives. Awesome. 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 So what you see first tells you a lot about how your brain works, but also tells you how other people's brain works. So there's a tendency to see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but that tiger in the upper left there's the mouth, there's the eye, there's the nose, There's the ear, and the branch serves as the top of it. If you saw a tiger, it's tendency to mean that you are a left brain first thinker. It means you tend to live in your logic world. You tend to put things in a logical order that lives in your left brain. You tend to be analytical about your thoughts. You tend to look at a yes no binary process. Oftentimes, you put together things in order. Now, that doesn't mean that you're out of order if you saw something else. In fact, what it might mean is that you're right, living in your right brain. So if you saw this little fella right here, that monkey, which is serves as the mouth of the tiger, and then the arms hanging from the branch, big foot up here, one down there, and then that nice windy tail over there. If you saw that, there's chances that you come from your right brain first. That means you lead with creativity, you lead with potentially the arts. Okay. And then when we look at both objects and we see a tiger, we see the monkey, we might see a lizard down here, we certainly see branches and leaves. When we start to apply our whole brain thinking, then we train our brain to live and work in both our left and right brain. So what does this possibly mean for storytelling? And why do we care? And why did I show you this? It's because when you tell a story, you have the opportunity to appeal both to the logical brain and both to the creative brain. So when you share a story, if you want to appeal to both, use a sense of logic and wisdom of like why this story might matter to those who are might be coming from an analytical standpoint. They may need a little bit of proof, or they may need a little bit of like, come on, man, really? You have the opportunity to deliver them a point of reference for them that might be impact, it might be a number, it might be data. For those living in the right brain, creativity, you want to bring on cool music, you want to use space, you want to use the arts, you want to apply a beating heart and share a little bit of emotion. So when I shared my story about the child soldiers, the fact of coltan being in a mineral inside of our cell phones is a powerful fact that puts us all in the story. It's a little connecting of the dots that says, this isn't just a story that happens in a faraway place. This is a story connected to all of us. So from the left brain standpoint, you can say, wow, I am now part of this story. I'm now responsible. So you can look for little tactics and opportunities like this as we tell our stories going forward. 7 steps, not just steps. These are 7 giant leaps. Okay. We'll share these points with you, but if you got, you want to make some notes, all good, all cool, be adventurous. My gosh. If you take a look at the 77-second films, it feels like a lot of them are promotions for your projects. Don't do it. Go tell an adventure story with a beginning, a middle, and even the end has got a cliffhanger and we don't know what's going to happen next. It's cool. You can tell the beginning of your story. You have a story right now connected to Enactus. Now, it might not be your project, but how many of you have some effect from Enactus by becoming an Enactus student? You met somebody, you met others, you had some failures, you were challenged, it wasn't what you thought it would be. Maybe it didn't suck, maybe it's awesome. Something happened to you through the experience that affected you in your life. And the more you talk to alumni, they are transformed for life. You may not know it as a student, but later, alumni, 20, 30 years later, they refer to their time at SIFE or Enactus as transformative. It's changing their lives because they had a moment, they had a touch point with somebody, somewhere, somehow that was in a deep experience that beat their heart, that sparked something in their mind, that put them on a different course they didn't even realize. So those are all the cool stories that you already have going. You want to tell that first part of the story? Awesome. Well, you've got the beginning of a Netflix series. Just tell season 1, episode 1. That's you. That's your story. It's got a cliffhanger. We don't know how it's going to go next episode. Neither do you. That's cool. But as a storyteller, I'm always excited to hear from you and to go, wow, you're thinking about this thing? That's cool. You got me thinking about it too. Now I'm in your story. So that's an awesome way to involve people in their story to go, how's it going to end? I don't know. But maybe if you and I get together and you contribute or you do this, or we think this through together, then we're all creating the same story. When you take a look at all those little stories connected, you realize we affect each other's next episode, the next cliffhanger. we're all in. So this is the part that I just love about Enactus, is being able to be part of these stories or help guide or craft these stories. And they're so cool. And it doesn't matter if the next step looks like failure. It's totally cool because I know you're gonna pick yourself up, you're gonna share that lesson. And we have so many lessons of failure that have happened so much. So be adventurous. So make sure you got step one there. Be adventurous, guys. Don't be afraid to share joy, disillusion, challenge, uncertainty, curiosity, all of those cool things. This is all about your awesome future. When I think about objects that tend to stay in motion, there's this dude over here in the upper left corner. He has the laws of motion that he gave to us a couple hundred years to 150 years ago or so, Newton's law of motion. But I tend to, he said objects in motion tend to stay in motion. I like this quote because I'm in love with my future, can't wait to meet her. And I'm in love, but not just with anybody. I just want to get to know her. And it's so cool. And those are the words of Billie Eilish. And I just think about her as a storyteller and her opportunity to inspire us with simple words, with a little bit of light music, and how that changes everything, and how absolutely awesome that can be when you share your story. Okay. And you all have a story. I know we're going to tap it in just a moment. Number two, I'm going to go fast now, guys. I have so much to share with you that I want to just fly through because I want to get to some of your stories. Cool. Connect with emotion. I touched on this earlier for those with the living out of the right brain, but boom, boom, boom. What matters most is not the words we say. What matters most is how we make people feel. How do you feel? Are you inspired? Are you moved? Are you feeling empathy? Is your heart heavy? Do you feel compelled to action? Consider other emotions. So when we tell our story of an Enactus, we tend to tell these big, heavy stories because we're in big, heavy, challenging places. But we know that. So where's the likeness? Is there humor? Is there hope? Are there possibilities along your journey? Don't be afraid to share those. Hey, at 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, I know where I was coming from. I wasn't doing what you guys were doing, but I was having a whole lot of fun. And there's nothing wrong with a whole lot of fun because that's the balance of life. Because if the one thing that we can do when we travel throughout the world, we may not have a lot of money to help a lot of people or a lot of resources, but we can bring a smile, we can bring joy, we can share stories, we can play hoops with child soldiers, a chance I had, or play, work with arts and refugee camps. And then we can move our way into gaining more resources, gaining more opportunity. Start somewhere, connect with emotion. It's powerful. It's clever counts. Number three. All right, this is the left brain. Did you appeal intelligence aligned to action, awareness, impact? Is there an aha moment in your story where you're like, duh, I got it. This is unbelievable. Boom. When you can land that thing in your story, everybody relates to it the moment that they realize something so powerful and true to them. And when you hit purpose, when you hit the aha moment, because I can guarantee you at that moment, all sense of time and space disappears. You'll be in a cloud. Sometimes that cloud is called falling in love. Sometimes that perfectly clear cloud is called finding my truth. It all happens in a moment. Everything on earth happens in a moment. When you can recognize and appreciate that moment and take a breath and go, wow, what a cool moment. Those are the aha moments, and clever counts. So this whole idea of head for business, you can appeal to the left brain too by delivering impact, by delivering what matters most for those people, right? So that's a lot to do, but you know what? It's all in there. You can pick any or all of these. Positive impact. So number four, did you include impact? If you do, guys, it's got to be a true story. A lot of our stories that you own, they're your truth, your story. But if you're going to tell somebody in the world, like through a 77-second film festival, like through your presentation, if you're going to land a fact that said, we changed X amount of lives, then guys, it's got to be true. It's got to be true. And if you don't have proof, you can have a plan. Because if you can't prove it, a plan is possible too. This is our plan. This is what we know. But this thing over here, that's what we don't know, and that's what we plan to do. That's totally cool. That's absolutely permissible. If you don't know all of your impact, it's okay, let it go. Tell people about your plan to make more happen and involve them in the story to create a greater impact. But if you're going to report impact as it stands, guys, it better be true. And if you don't know it to be true and it's not true to you, then tell people about your plan because that is your truth. It's all good. All right, cool. Number 5, what is your story? So I want you to test your story with others. Share that story. And I really invite you, I hope everybody on this call figures out how to enter a 77-second film. You can film it on your iPhone, your Android. It doesn't matter. It's so cool. I want you to tell your own story. What's your story? Test it out. Figure it out. Share it out. If you need some resources, you can shoot some notes back to me or Emily. Maybe we can find you an editor or somebody, but it doesn't have to be slick. It doesn't have to be super cool. It just has to be super you. Your story, your truth. Take us on your journey. It is awesome. And I'm telling you guys, your story and your truth is the fountain of youth. People will dig it. They'll love it. They'll want to hear from you. They'll want to support you. And if they don't, it's okay. They didn't belong in your audience anyway. But I'm encouraging you all to tell your stories. Okay, I'm going to get through 7. I'm going to get back to you guys because I want to get to some thoughts and questions. All right, as you're telling your story and you're putting it down to film, permissions are key. They're important. Even the story of the man that I didn't know his name, and I took his picture. I was there with the IRC, the World Food Program, where we got permissions to film. We got permissions to be there. And even when I'm somewhere taking a picture of somebody, I always at least get eye contact to make sure that I have permission to involve them in their story. Permissions are really important. And one way to test it is put it up on YouTube. If they pull it down, it means you probably didn't get permission for the music. What I love about Enactus is there's so many cool musicians out there that you could just reach out to somebody else in this call and go, hey, could you throw a couple of guitar tracks down in my 77-second film? And I bet they would jump in and you give them credit. How cool is that? A little bit of music, a little bit of spoken word, a little bit of beatbox. It's all there. And it's all possible. So if you're going to put a music track down to appeal to emotion, make sure you get permission. And if you want to create that music, super cool. If you do this a little bit with YouTube and stuff, there are free or low cost access to great music tracks. So make sure you get all your permissions for all of your photos and for your music. It's super, super important. Otherwise, it'll get pulled down. Boom. Number 7. This is the last big step here. Giant leap. Mission possible. I can't tell you enough that you got it because you're telling your own story. Nobody's going to call you on it because it's your story. It's your truth. You can't go wrong when you tell your own story. And if it engages others, engages what matters most, people are not going to question it. Now, if you put up some facts about your team and your impact, they may question that. And here's the beautiful part about this. So many teams at Enactus stand up and they talk about their project impact as if they weren't even there. So I ask you, hey, what was the impact on you yourselves? Because if you yourself was not impacted, then I don't know how others could be impacted. Now, I might question whether or not others were impacted or you really created a business that's sustainable. But if you were changed, there's no question at all. That's your truth. And it gets better than that. Because when you present in an interview, you present in a story, you present in a career, and you present to people that you were transformed, that you were changed, that you experienced failure and then picked yourself up again, then that's a person that I want to invest in. That's a person I believe in. And if you present a project or an investment for me, then I put my money into your project or your business. I don't really want you to fail me. I don't want to, I'm going to put my hard earned money into your business. I really don't want you to fail me. But if I believe in you, I'm going to see you through. I'm going to see you through your failure because I know you will do right by you. And then we'll do right by us. And I'll help you through that stumble and that failure and all of that stuff. It's cool. I'd rather invest in you than your business or your project or whatever that thing is. And if you can connect the two, better for you. It's all good. Cool. All right. Those are the 7 steps. I'm sure that Ems can follow up with you to make sure you got them. But here's what I want to do. When I asked you to close your eyes and I asked you to think about what is it that matters most, and you guys went in and populated the thread with what matters most to you. I saw family, I saw friends, I saw love, I saw happiness, I saw all that good stuff. I want to know which one of you is willing to share a story, a short one, just a minute, or just share your thoughts about what matters most to you. What matters most to you? Is there anybody willing to unmic and just share their thoughts? Just share their thoughts on what matters most. And if there's a story connected to why you landed there, I'd love to hear from it. Everybody would. All right. So storytelling takes a little bit of bravery and leadership and go first. And I know, and I got a lot of go first people out there. So don't look away. I got you. I see you. We got you. Who wants to jump in and share? Really appreciate it.
All right, it looks like Luis from the chat said that they would hop in.
Yeah, I can do it. I can just try it. It's just a chance. I see it as a chance to just try and yeah.
We do too. Guys, how cool is that? One thing you can do is I belong to this thing called Clubhouse, and when we want to applaud somebody, we turn our mic on and off like that. You know, you flash your mics on and off, and if you flash your mics on and off, that's applauding somebody and encouraging them to go forward. So cool. First, give us your name and where you're at, and just share with us why you, and tell us what you, what matters most, and tell us a little bit about that. It'd be cool. Thanks.
Okay, I'm Louise. I'm from Germany. And what matters most to me, my answers were experiences and friendships. And that's because I've been on exchange in Brazil and I've had so many great experiences. For example, this really beautiful sunset in the Amazon forest that honestly, I don't really believe in God, but I believe in a greater being. And that was the moment where I realized that there has to be something because it was so incredibly beautiful. And the second one was friendship, because the people that I met on my travel, people from Brazil, people from all around the world, there's always something you have in common with them. The language of smile is universal for everybody. And it is so important to choose your friends wisely and just have a deep connection with them. And right now I started at university and I found some people who I think will become really good friends of mine. But I think it's so important that I thought with some of them or with a lot of people that I meet that we have nothing in common, but I see them as a book and I just want to read it. I just want to see their story. And then I find out how much we have in common and how much I can learn from them. And we just learn with each other, we grow together. And that just shows how close we are as humans.
Well, tell me about the sunset. I just want to know what the colors, what was it setting over? Was it trees, a blue sky? Tell me about the colors in the morning of the sunset.
It was crazy because it started that the sky was really pink. All of a sudden there was a little thunderstorm, so you could see like just a flash coming out of one of the pink clouds, and then it went in crazy colors, just like crazy red, crazy orange, crazy yellow. I've never seen colors like that. It was so beautiful. Everybody was shook, and a lot of people were taking a lot of pictures. I took a couple of pictures. They look good, but they don't come close to what I've experienced.
Okay, so I want you to now not tell us about that experience. I want you to take us to that experience. So we're standing with you. We're shoulder to shoulder. Our eyes look up. And we catch a glimmer of light that gets our attention. We notice this deep pink sky. I want you to breathe through your words. Just take us to that moment again. And by the way, just slow it way down, because I'm sure when you saw that sunset, like it was like could have went on for hours. So just take it down. Now take us there. We're standing with you.
All right. So you're at a little boat and the boat is quite quiet. There are other people with you on the boat, but they're your friends. You just feel close to them, even though you don't really know them that well. And beneath you is the water, just like going in slow motion. You can hear it a little bit. And around you, there are trees and you can see the sky, and you look up to the sky and you see this crazy pink that looks like, I don't know, I think it's candy cotton in English, but you can see and you think, wow, that looks surreal. And then you see this flash all of a sudden. You think, wow, how is that even possible? There's no noise in the air except for the birds that are, I don't know, making noises. and the little water that you can hear beneath you.
Wow.
And then you look up and the colors change and it becomes more vibrant and it changes to yellow, into orange, and into red. And it's like you're looking into another universe.
Wow. Another universe. So how many people felt that? When we just slowed down, we stood with you shoulder to shoulder. You gave us a view. You let us breathe. You told us what we were seeing, the water, the bird, the details. I was just timing you. You got that in just over a minute. And so 77 seconds is a minute and 17 seconds. To me, the story of a sunset is so universal and so beautiful and so true, and that you are witnessing and watching something that feels like a miracle that changed your frame, changed your point of view. And how many times everywhere in the world we may see a sunset and think nothing at all, but you saw it as everything. And so you sharing that story, giving us the colors, the emotion, the birds, the water. We're in a boat. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. We're on an adventure. Thank you so much for that. That
Thank
was,
you for the opportunity.
thank you. Yeah. And so there's a lot that you tend to want to pack in the story. Even when I do these sessions, I'm like, I want to give you guys everything. But then there's these moments that are so juicy and wonderful and warm and adventurous and awesome. You just want them to stretch on for miles. We're deep in the Amazon. I can't wait to know what your next episode is. I can't wait to know what we're doing together in the Amazon. I bet it's really cool. I bet it's really important. I bet it's really fun. I bet we had different food. I bet we tasted different things and we smelled different things and we felt the heat of the moment. We were on this adventure and we were doing things together. The experience, I love how you underscored experience, because life between experience and theory, those two things in the sessions ahead, I'll talk to you about the relationship of experience and theories. Thank you for that. Hey, how awesome was that, guys? Cool. All right, let's share another story. Let's share another story.
Yeah, up next, Deepanshu, you had asked next in the chat to go.
Hi guys, I am Dipanshu from India. So what is something that is important to me is creating memories. So what connects me to Enactus is the 2 years of memories, amazing memories that I have created with my fellow team members and the friends that I have made throughout these years with my team members. While driving towards one of our villages under a project, it took us 2 hours to reach there. And what an amazing drive it used to be. We used to talk and we used to chatter. The weather used to be breezy, and we really had a lot of fun. It is one of the best times I have ever had, talking to people and creating some loving memories.
So thank you. How awesome is a great road trip together? When you're on a road trip, something magical happens because at least you're heading towards a destination. So sometimes getting lost is part of the journey and part of the adventure. But it sounded like the road was rough, maybe a little bumpy, maybe the conversation and the space in between. So I hear you reflecting on that. The moment that everything changes is when we're on the road trip with you, when we're in your vehicle and you're describing the scenario that we jump into, we get into this car one at a time, we introduce ourselves to each other, and we head off on this road that turns into a bumpy, crazy ruddy road, and we're bouncing along and the conversation is growing and we're laughing because why? Somebody says something funny. Those are the things that I would ask you to share. Even if it wasn't funny when you look back, is like, when you're on the road trip and you're bouncing along the road and you just know that it's going to be bouncy and bumpy for a long time. And then suddenly somebody says something and everything is funny for moments. Just take us on that journey. Take us on that bumpy road. Make it comfortable and uncomfortable and curious and corners. I'll never forget my first time in rural India when we left Delhi and headed out to Uttar Pradesh. And everybody honks. I'm like, what? I was for 2 hours turning around. Every time somebody honked, I was looking because we tend to honk a little aggressively in around New York. And so when somebody honks, it's like, oh, shoot, I'm on the wrong lane, this and that. People honk in much of India, and especially just to chat, just say, hey, I'm here. It's all cool. It wasn't aggressive like New York, like nailing the home, or LA where you're hanging on the horn to somebody. It was just like toot toot, hey, I'm here. It's okay to honk. Hey, how are you? And everybody's honk had a different voice, and it took a long time for me to settle into that. So we laughed a lot in that experience. And it's very telling. It's very different cultures. Thank you for that. Who else has got a share?
All right, Vanessa, if you'd like to go up next.
Hey, Vanessa.
Hey, Terry, how's it going?
Yeah. Good. Where are you today?
Sorry, Siri just started talking randomly on my laptop.
Oh, Siri, tell a story. That's cheating.
And
where are you today?
no,
You're somewhere
I'm coming from Canada.
Yeah, that's a big country, but where?
So just outside of Kingston, which is near the New York border. So
super cool. Yep.
So the word you asked to kind of at the beginning was, for me, creativity. And this has always kind of been something I thrived in, and I kind of not struggled, but I chased after. I was an army brat growing up, and art was seemed to be the universal kind of thing. It didn't matter where I go, where I moved, or because like everything changed. Math was taught differently everywhere in around Canada, but art was a universal. So during my Enactus journey and my kind of like my adventure, I took it like a bit of a creative risk, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to submit this proposal because why not? And everyone thought, are you effing crazy? Like, what is the point of this? Well, that little proposal got us to like from like our little like school, like just outside of Toronto, to San Jose in that World Cup. And that for me, that was the defining moment in my kind of career where I got something. I like, this is mine. This is, I think, my gift. And from that moment, I'm always try to like push myself and try to challenge myself.
Nice. I imagine, Vanessa, that's super cool. And I see as the scene opens up, you're at this kind of desk and you're writing, you're scribbling, you're crumbling up the paper, you're trying again. You're like, no, it's crazy to you. People are saying you're crazy, and crazy is the story. Like, but somehow against the odds, your crazy created the right proposal and the right story to put you on the right path to cross a border and to head out to an adventure, to make your way to San Jose, where you met other people, other voices, other crazy stories that brought you together. So whatever that crazy proposal was, started with a couple of words. Do you even remember what the first words of your proposal was?
I do actually.
Okay. Well, what are the first
like
words?
I don't remember exactly what it was precisely, but I was talking about trees.
Okay, perfect. So imagine if you took the first words of your proposal, and that was the first words of your story. And you're like, I was struggling over what's next, this proposal. And so then at the end of the story, we learn that those first words that you were struggling with were the words that freed you, that invited others to come along this adventure and this journey. That even though those first words that you were working on turned out to be the story that was a proposal that had this opportunity that connected you to the rest of the world, probably connected you to me and you to this session here today. So how cool is that? So those are, there's a level of detail in each one of your stories. When the sun is setting on the Amazon, where the story slows down and we see the pinks and the oranges, we hear the birds and the water rippling under our feet as the boat rocks gently. We feel the bumpy road trip as we're bouncing up and down, and we're laughing so hard we're holding our bellies and our hearts and we can't believe we're in this moment in time. We want to pee our pants. It's crazy. There's nowhere to go. To the moment when everybody thinks I'm crazy and I'm sitting here all alone, which feels like all alone, writing a proposal that feels crazy even to me. And I'm even in self-doubt. And I write down these words and I show these words to the camera. I go, these are the words I started with and I was stuck with. But those were the words that mattered most, because what unfolded after that became an adventure and turned the world in a new direction and spun it my way. So those moments when you can dive into details, that's the moment when the cinematic music kicks in, people emote with you, and they're there with you in the story. I think we have time for one more, and I'm going to be late for a, you know, what's next for me is a budget meeting. You know how bad I want to go to the budget meeting. I just want to hang out with you guys here. But let's, if we got time for one more, Em.
Yeah, Ezra, it looks like you've got your hand up. Why don't you go up next?
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for this opportunity. And actually, I am an international master student here in Italy, Padua. And I was in Siena, again, Italy last year when the coronavirus has just started before this time. And after I arrived to Siena, Italy, 2 weeks later, the COVID pandemic has started. So I had to turn back to my home country, which is Turkey. And I was in Istanbul and I started to work with an association because I wasn't taking much time just doing some stuff. So I would like to improve my career development at the same time. And then I was on a corner that I had to decide about going abroad again for my education and not going to abroad. So the adventurous one was going to abroad for my education, and I have prepared to going Italy again. So now I am in Italy, and I think that I am so happy to being here during this corona pandemic, although it is not finished yet. And I think that we should continue to live adventures, and we should think life as a travel, because we can't know what will happen in the future, and it can be a corner for us.
Wow.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So what just happened for everybody is Ezra opened up the story of COVID, where she was, that immediately snaps us into a place of, where were we? Were we displaced? Were we home? Were we with loved ones? Were we close to what matters most? Or were we somewhere else where we chose to make it an adventure and change our space and place? Ezra, I could talk for hours about the experience of the Aquifer or the Blue Mosque, or the things that I experienced in Istanbul and also Italy, and the comparison of the people and the culture and the foods. My last name is Torok, by the way. Torok. It's Hungarian, but it's also Turkish, so I can relate. But how cool is her story about telling a story this year about COVID and about our experience through that, and where are we at now? We don't even know where our future is, but where were we then? Where were we in the middle? And where are we now? And where are we going? That story is universal, powerful, true to you and true to all of us. Those are the stories that are going to matter most. Emily, do we have a chance and a date to go on and do this again? And if so, how many of you would be willing to help share and develop those stories? And then if we could help you turn those into 77-second films. That's a short time, 77 seconds, but it's the time most of you told this story. And then my goal is to expose those to the world. Other people see your 77-second film and then invest in you, become interested in you, and maybe open up those films to longer films or short stories that we can share around the world. How many of you would be willing to meet again and go deeper into storytelling and then give you the resources to help share and tell those stories? Would you be willing to do that? Do we have a date and the time, Em?
Awesome, we do. So our next session will be at the same time. So whatever time this session started for you will be the same time as the next one, which will be on May 4th. So that's a Tuesday, May 4th, same time, right here. And then for the 77-second films, You have up until August 15th to submit a film. So think about all that time you have between now and August 15th to go ahead and get a film submitted.
So between now and May 4th, which will come up fast, I want you to develop some of your stories and share some of those stories. You can see some of the 77-second films that are up now, but those stories, they tell the story of the projects and impact. I want to work on the stories of you, your truth, the stories that you just shared. And then May 4th, please show up if you wanted to share your story. We're going to go deeper into your stories. I won't have to share so much of the tools. I'll just go quick, and then we'll dive into your stories and we'll help nurture them and tell them and get you the resources to share them too. All cool, guys. This is a fast hour. I wish we had more time, and I wished I didn't have to go to a budget meeting next. Ugh. But thank you for all you do, all that you are. I am in deep gratitude. I woke up today like couldn't wait to meet you guys. And so you never disappoint, and I'm so grateful to serve you, and I want to do better for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all you guys do.
Thanks, everyone. We'll do a follow-up with some presentation slides and a place to register for the next session. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Emily. See you May 4th, and tell everybody else, and let's jump on a really cool call. Maybe we can go 90 minutes, Em.
We'll look at it. Thanks.
All right, cheers. Thanks, everybody. You're the best. Really amazing.